Welcome to Hope is Here. My name is Greg Horn. We are continuing our conversation about soul keeping. Now, I'm talking about the soles on your feet. I want to remind you that we hope that you will donate a pair of your shoes that you wear, comfortable shoes, tennis shoes, walking shoes, maybe working shoes that people have if you worked in a restaurant, a kitchen, or so forth. But we're partnering with Michael's Feet with Lighthouse Ministries, a young man that just had shoes that were actually 2 sizes too small, and there was blood at the end of his shoes you could see because where his toes were crinkled in there. And Lighthouse Ministry said we have to do something about this about 5 years ago and started Michael's Feet and collecting shoes that people that are less fortunate, many which are actually homeless, have to walk a lot of the places, but some of them do have jobs, and yet just it's hard to make ends meet, especially when you have family in this. So I want to encourage you to drop off shoes at many of the spots, UPS stores in Hamburg, Tates Creek, Zandale Shopping Center, Nicholasville, Kentucky, Lexington Compound Pharmacy, right across from St. Joseph Hospital on Waller Avenue, next to Jimmy John's. Also, Reliable Residential Roofing off Jaggy Fox Way, off Georgetown Road, near God's Pantry. And last but not least, Bluegrass Realty Group with Keller Williams. They've got 5 of their real estate agents. They're located off Harrodsburg Road. You can go to WJMM.com and find the address of those places, and I hope you will donate some of your shoes that you wear but that are still good shape, clean them up and take them and donate to somebody less fortunate, can have soles at the bottom of their shoes. But we talked yesterday about the hardened soul, and I want to encourage you, if you missed that, to go back to our website, hopeishere.today, and you can hear that 14-minute program. We have podcasts of all our programs, and we talked about when you have a hardened soul, referred to the passage that Jesus talked about, the seed in Luke chapter 8, verses 4 through 8. So I hope you'll listen to that. But today I want to talk to you about the shallow soul. And, looking at that passage in Luke chapter 8, verses 4 through 8, Jesus talked about, some of the seeds fell on rocky soil. The idea here is not that there was a bunch of rocks, but that there was only a thin layer of topsoil with solid rock underneath. The seed had life until the sun came out, but the life withers quickly, Jesus said, because the soil is too shallow for roots. The world conspires against our soul, keeping our life superficial also. For much of our lives, we live in shallowness. Then something happens. A crisis, a birth, a death, and we get this glimpse of tremendous depth in our souls. Our soul winds up becoming shallow when my interests and thoughts go no further than myself. A person should be deep because life itself is deep, isn't it? A deep soul has the capacity to understand and empathize deeply with others. A deep soul notices and questions. It doesn't just go through the motions. A deep soul lives in conscious awareness of eternity, not simply today. It notices and observes and reflects in surprising ways. We talk about a person of hidden depths. A soul especially has depth when it is connected to God. His eternal existence, omniscience, and love are beyond all measure. And friends, I so can relate to that. John Ortberg says that a soul especially has depth when it is connected to God. His eternal existence, his omniscience, and love are beyond all measures. And I have found that to be so true when I've come in storms in life, that the reservoir, the supply of spending time with God, I can draw from, and I don't get so depleted. Even though life may be hard, I may shed some tears over disappointment, hurts, and heartache, and loneliness, and rejection, and failures. We all have those. Yet, your soul, when it has depth because of time spent with Jesus through Sunday morning worship and being a part of a life group and listening to radio stations that play things and podcasts, spiritual things that fill your soul, instead of deplete your soul, and taking time to do what Psalm 46:10 says, to be still and know that I am God, makes all the difference in the world. John Ortberg, in his book Soul Keeping, says to speak about depth means there is more going on than what we see on the surface. To love deeply or care deeply or value deeply means we have devoted time and effort and thought. To suffer deeply means to be wounded at the soul level. Depth is an expression of spiritual vastness. The world conspires against our souls by blinding us to the depth and glory of our God-given design and tempting us to be satisfied with immediate gratification. And that is so, so true. So many times Satan tempts us for stuff, and I've said this before, and as Wayne Smith used to say, this is not in the Bible, but it should be. The world is in the microwave, the instant credit, the drive-through business, get things quickly. But I believe God's in the crock pot business. I believe that he does things slow, deliberately, but I think we all can admit if we get a meal that comes out of a crock pot, it tastes so much better than anything that's been microwaved or food that we get through a drive-through, and when you rely on God, a lot of times it takes patience. And the Bible says God's ways are not our ways. And, one of the things sometimes I struggle with is waiting. And yet God has taught me so many things in my life when I go through things, if I will have patience. So I want to encourage you today to say, God, what is it that I am getting frustrated because it's not happening on my timetable, and I want this immediate answer? And just let him just say, God, I give this to you, and trust his perfect timing. As a friend of mine used to say, God's a lot like the mailman. You don't know when he's going to get there, but he always delivers. But it may not be the way we want to or the same exact answer that we want. God's answer may be no. It may be yes, or it could be not now. But we can trust that God's ways are best with us. And I love the verse in Hebrews that says Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. I want to talk to you also about the cluttered soul. That passage in Luke chapter 8, verses 4 through 8 about the sower and the seed. Jesus talked about that to a crowd. When you've got a cluttered soul, some seeds fall among thorns that grow up and choke the plants. Jesus said the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth and desire for other things come and chokes our soul. Somebody said a long time ago that if the devil can't make you sin, he will make you so busy, because either way, your soul starts to shrivel. Our world will divert your soul's attention because it is so cluttered. And clutter may be the most dangerous condition because it's so subtle. And I found it so true in my own life, and I think a lot of you listening right now, you can relate to that. Next thing we know, our souls are we feel empty, and part of it's because we're just giving out. We're going, doing. Hear so many people just say how busy they are, like it's a badge of honor. And yet, I think about God, and one of the things God's really been challenging me on this year, and I haven't done it every week, but I'm trying to do much better, is about taking a Sabbath. God created the world in 6 days, and on the seventh he rested. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Sunday. But it needs to be a day where you're just not on the treadmill of life, where you're going 100 miles an hour. And, God wants to speak to us. We're his children. He loves us. But when we stay so busy, our soul becomes attached to the wrong things because the soul is sticky. John Ortberg says the Velcro of the soul is what Jesus calls desire. It could be desire for money or simply desire for other things. We mistake our clutter for life. If we cease to be busy, do we actually matter? A person preoccupied with the externals in life, such as success, reputation, ceaseless activity, lifestyle, office gossip, may be dead internally and not even recognize it. Ouch. Man, as I read that, I thought that's been me at times in my life. More times than I'd like to admit, to be honest with you today. And our world has lots of other things. You can get them from infomercials. You can buy them online. You can collect them in your garage. And you can even put them in your will. It takes only a tiny uncluttered space to give the seed room to grow. The cluttered soul is closer to being saved than it actually knows. A soul can be saved, but it will take softness and depth and space. And unfortunately, our world isn't much help. And you know, friends, even as followers of Jesus, I know a lot of times we can get busy doing things for God instead of just being with God. And I'll encourage you today, just take some time to turn the podcast off. When you finish it here, we're going to be done here in just a couple minutes. Turn your radio off, your TV off, put your cell phone away, put it on silent, whatever it is, and just ask God, what is it in my life that I need to eliminate from my schedule? Just be quiet. I mean, just like there where I was quiet for a few seconds, you thought, oh, we lost the signal. But you know what? God will tell you. He'll show you. And, so many times I've settled for good things instead of God's very best. And I've got a good friend that's more mature in his relationship with Jesus than me. And a lot of times, I've asked him about doing things. He says, man, let me think about it. Let me pray about it tonight, and I'll get back with you tomorrow. Because a lot of times after we slept on things and we've looked at our schedule maybe that night before we went to bed and look at it the next morning, we realize, as much as I'd like to do this, and this is a good thing, I just actually have way too many too many things going on. And this would not be a good thing because it's actually going to add more stress to my already busy schedule. And for parents, I want to tell you, it's okay to tell your kids no. We need to model them. It's okay to stay at home. You don't have to be gone every night. And, just being still and knowing that He is God, as Psalm 46:10 says, is something that our world makes you feel like you're lazy when you do that. And anybody knows me knows that I'm all about working hard. It's in Proverbs, and we should have a good work ethic. But we also need to be careful about getting too busy, whether it's with work or social activities or even church activities. And I'm so glad to see that some churches are cutting back on that. It's not doing you any good if you're at the church 5 nights a week, if your marriage is falling apart or your kids are tired and worn out. And we all know when we get fatigued that we make unwise decisions. So I would encourage you to really do some soul searching and see what it is that you need to do to try to take a look at your soul and get healthy. And I think the biggest thing that you could do is just to slow down and really look at your calendar. Because when our souls get cluttered, it's unhealthy, and we make unwise decisions that are not God-honoring. And I know that most people that they really do. They desire to honor God, and yet we can't honor God when we stay busy all the time. So if you want to get your soul healthy, I think the biggest takeaway I would have for you over what we've talked about the past 2 days and today is just to slow down. Take a pause and look at your calendar and see what it is that you need to eliminate, and see what you can do to have more time to be still and know that He is God. Because believe me, God cares more about your soul than we do, and it's okay to say no or not now and delay it so that you can have a healthy soul. Well, I want to thank you for tuning in today to Hope is Here. I hope you'll share this program with somebody else. You can find all our programs at our website, hopeishere.today. Also, we welcome any donations. That is a tax-deductible donation. We are a ministry and would appreciate your help. You can make donations online simply at our website, hopeishere.today. I'm Greg Horn. We'll see you next time on Hope is Here.
CMI is your full-service human resources provider in Central Kentucky. For 15 years, CMI Human Resources has taken great pride in helping organizations and people work. Whether it's employee handbooks or help in filling a position, no job is too large or too small for CMI. Contact the professionals today at CMI Human Resources, 859-296-2800, or online at cmiconsulting.com.